welcome back guys. Here we will try to understand why we should use wrapper class. Like what is the point, what is the benefit of using wrapper class, right? We'll try to understand one by one. So if you look at here, the wrapper class convert your primitive data type into object. It's a very important point, right? This wrapper class will convert your primitive data type into a object, and uh, I have already covered this in my previous lecture where I was talking about primitive data type and non-primitive data type. You guys are familiar with the primitive data type, which is nothing but int, short, long, byte, double, float, boolean and character, right? Those are the primitive data types. Now this guy wraps the primitive data type into objects. Objects are needed if we wish to modify the argument passed into method, right? So you know that when you have the object you can modify the data, but when you have the primitive type, okay, you cannot modify the data because the primitive types are passed by value. A very important point. So whenever you call any method, and if the method argument is the primitive data type, so that method argument is always passed by the value when it is a primitive data type. But if the method argument has an object, right, then it is a pass by reference. You can modify the data to the object. The first thing. Now as I was mentioning, which we'll see that later, the Java util package, okay, consumes only object. So in Java we have a Java util package, right? That guy consumes only object, and your lot of collection classes and package, I would say 99% collections classes and package belongs to Java util package, okay? And whenever you work with Java util package, and the classes present in the Java util package will consume only objects, hence for every primitive data type we need to have the corresponding wrapper class. If we don't have wrapper class, we cannot work with the collection framework, right? Now look at here the data structure in collection framework, such as array list, linked list and vector. Okay, array list, linked list and vectors stores only objects, reference type and not primitive type. This point is very important, not primitive types. Okay, I have mentioned here a few classes. Array list, linked list, vector stores only object, not primitive data type. So whatever you write int I is equal to 10, the int I you cannot store into array list, linked list and vector. These are all classes guys given by Java itself, and these classes are present in the Java util package. Okay, now the object is required to support synchronizations in multi-threading. Again, this term will be very new for you because this we have a separate chapter altogether, but in brief I'll explain you. The synchronizations means when you are working in the multi-threaded environment, which means when your method is called by the multiple threads at the same time, you need to make sure that your data should be secure and safe. To achieve that we use synchronizations, right? So that your method data will not get modified by the other thread or will not get corrupted by the other thread. Your data will be always safe. To make the data safe, we use synchronizations, which is a part of threading concept in the Java. Now we'll try to understand wrapper classes one by one. We'll start with the first wrapper class, which is nothing but integer. The first wrapper class. Now if you look at all the wrapper classes by design, I would say it will have two constructors. So when I talk about the integer wrapper class, as I said, when you have a class will have a constructor, will have a method, will have an instance of object, everything, right? So integer class will have two constructor. If you look at here, the first constructor which will take one argument, and by the way both the constructor is argumented one. So the first constructor which will take integer as an argument, and the second constructor will take a string as an argument. Now again when you say a string as an argument, right, the string should be of type number. Okay, the string should be of type number. The string as an argument does not mean that you can write integer obj is equal to new integer double quote test. You cannot write like that. You have to write integer obj is equal to new integer 1 2 3 in the double quote. It will accept, because your string should be of type number. Okay, always be remember. So you have two constructor in the integer class, right? Now when I say when it is a class, you will have multiple methods, which I have copied from a Java site, Java documentation site. The link I have shared here. This link will help you to understand lot more things about Java lang package, because all your wrapper class is present in the Java lang package, right? Like, how do we design any project? When even I write a code, I write a particular code in the particular package, right? Similarly, Java also does that. They, whatever library, whatever classes they have written, for every class they have certain package. Okay, now this guy, all your wrapper class present in the Java lang package. Please remember this. Somebody will ask you in the interview. All your wrapper class present in the Java lang package. I'll show you this link also. We'll go through this link and we'll try to understand. Here I have covered only for integer. I copied from their site. Now these two constructor you have, and you have lot of methods, right? This integer class has a lot of methods. Now we will not focus on each and every method. We'll try to understand the important one, which we always use in day-to-day life, or whenever we work on the project, we use that. Okay, so you can go through this method. All the method will have the return type and whether it is a static or non-static, right? The important one will go through it. The important one, the one is this compare. Okay, so what this guy will do is, this guy will take two argument, two primitive data type, and it will compare. Okay, it will compare, and when it compares, when both are equal, right, you'll get 0. When both are not equal, you'll get 1, which we'll see that with the example. Now compare to, so look at here, this compare will compare two primitive data type, whereas the compare to, this guy will compare with the object. It will compare one object with other object, right? It will compare one object with other object. We will see that how this comparison will happen and everything, so that you will understand better. Now when you have the integer class, okay, and from the integer class you have integer data, but you need corresponding double value, right? Like these are the data types: integer, float, double. So to convert integer into double, this wrapper classes has given one method called double value. So on the integer reference, when you call this double value, it will give you the double value. Similarly, it will give you the float value. For integer, you can convert the data to the float, right? Now this is very important, get integer. So this get integer, from the given string you can get the integer value, which we will see that when I'll start with the example. Now I'll go with the most common one, which we always use. See this int value, long value, the name itself says that from that integer, when you call on the reference of the integer, right? When you call dot int value, it will give you int value. When the reference of the object, like when you write integer obj is equal to new integer, and when you say obj dot long value, it will give you the long value. It's like self-explanatory, right? This all we can go through it. What important here is, what we use 90% of the time is this parsing. Very important, right? So you are working on the project, you have two methods. The one method return type is the string of type number. Now the second method input is the integer. So how do you do that? This parser integer dot parseInt, by the way, this is the static method. If you look at here static, you don't need object for that. You can directly call by the reference of the class. So you can directly write here integer dot parseInt. Okay, integer dot parseInt, you can directly write like this because these are all static, right? So wherever you see a static, you can call by the class reference. Whenever you are not seeing that the static, you need to create the object for that. See, you don't have a static here, you don't have a static here, you don't have a static here, so you need to create the object for that. But wherever you are seeing that a static, you can call through the class reference. Again, there is one parseInt here, there is another parseInt. Okay, so this parseInt, right, this parseInt will help you to get the integer data based on the radix. Okay, we'll talk about what is the radix and how this is useful. Right now, the another important method is value of. This is also very important method. These two method, value of. Okay, so this value of, there is a difference between the parseInt and value of. You will be thinking both does the same job. Actually, when I'll show you in the example, it will look like both does the same job. Then why you have two different method? One is integer dot parseInt. Again, I mean this guy was static, so I can directly call through class name integer dot parseInt. This guy parses the string into the integer, whereas the value of also does the almost same thing, but there is a difference. Okay, the difference is the value of return type is the integer. If you look at it, it's an object. The return type is the class object, whereas the parseInt, if you look at here, the return type is the primitive data type. Okay, that is the one difference, right? Here the return type is the integer, which is the primitive data type, whereas the value of return type is the object. Okay, and again another value of, so this will take a string and it will convert to the integer. So there are two methods, one will take integer, one will take a string. Okay, look at here, one will take integer, one will take a string. Why I am stressing here? Because there is a one point we need to understand. Value of will take both integer and a string. Look at the parseInt. The parseInt, if you look at here, it takes only a string. Okay, it will not take integer, guys. Important point, please make a note. It will not take integer, it will take only a string argument. Okay, which means when you try to parse integer data, you should get compile time error. Okay, since the method will not accept the integer data, whereas this guy will accept the integer data. Again, the third method, the value of based on the radix, this I will explain you through the example, you will understand very well. Now we got an idea of what is a wrapper class, what is the integer wrapper class, and what are the few methods. The important one I have explained here, the other one you can go through it, okay, because it has all the definitions here, right? Apart from that, this is I copied only for the integer class. So there is a way to understand this wrapper class. If you go through only definitions, you might not understand. How you will understand that I will tell you. Now go to this link. I was mentioning this link. This is very important link here. When you open this link and when you go to Java lang package, this is the one, right? You can see that Java lang package is here, right? So you have Java lang package here. Now when you click on the Java lang package, what happens? This Java lang package has lot of interface, it has lot of classes. You can see here lot of interface, lot of classes. Now this classes will have this integer, you can see it here, integer. When I click on the integer, you will get all details here, right? You will get what are the constructor this class has, what are the method this class has, I copied from here, okay, and what are the classes inherited by the integer wrapper class, you will get here. Okay, what are the class and what are the method inherited from the class, object class, because you know that object is the parent class of all the class. So when we say parent class, which means the child class acquires the properties of parent class. So these are the method is acquired from the parent class to child class, right? Then you can see some more details here. Every wrapper class has a default mean value and default max value, which means what is the minimum data this type of wrapper class can take and what is the maximum data this type of wrapper class will take. So the minimum data it will take minus 2 to the power 31 and the maximum data it will take minus 2 to the power 31 minus 1, right? This came in JDK 1.1. if you look at here, JDK 1.1, and the size came is 1.5. so you'll have a lot more details, you can go through it. Now the important one which I will cover through the coding part, you can read this once. See, for every method you will have one example here. See, they have made the method, like what is the exception thrown by the method, everything they have mentioned here. So you'll have details informations here. Now let's say you want to see some other class. Let's say you want to see double. Here you have a double. Okay, click on the double. The double will wrapper class will open. Even this guy has two constructor. Since it is a double, the argument will be double and a string. Same thing, nothing different actually. If you look at, even integer had two constructor, double also two constructor. Even this guy will have the method, and 80% of the method will be common what we had in the integer class. Okay, so if you look at here also you have a parse double. You can look at here, the parse double you have, the radix parse double you don't have here. The value of here also you'll have, right? Now compared to here also you'll have what we had in the integer wrapper class. Compare also you'll have what we had. Only the thing is, when it is a double, the input type will be double. When it is an integer, the method input type will be the integer, right? Here also you will have non-static method in double class and static method. So when you have a static method, which we can call directly through the reference of the double class, wherever we don't have a static, we need to create the object for that. Now you can go through one by one. I will not go through all. Okay, it's up to your interest how much you want to understand, but through code I'll make sure that you will understand everything which is required for your project. Similarly, you can go for long. Here you can see that long. Click on long. Again, long, you will have two constructor. Long will take long data, and one it will take a string. Again, it has a method, same method, compare to. Then you will have parse long, which you can see it here, parse long, and here you will have two method like integer, right? Integer will have two method for the parsing. One will take a string, one will take a string with the radix, and the value of, again here you will have three methods like integer, right? One is the value of will take, one is long argument, one it will take a string argument, the value of based on radix. And as I said, the parseInt return type, if you look at here, the parseInt return type is long, okay, which is primitive data type, right? Whereas the value of return type is the long wrapper class, it's an object. First thing. Second thing is, value of will take long as an argument as well as a string as an argument, whereas the parse long will take only a string as an argument. So if you look at here, it will take only a string as an argument. There is no way you can supply long as an argument, right? So you can go through this. You can go through each and every primitive data type wrapper class what you have. You can go through one by one from here, and you will get all the informations. Now in next video I will start with the coding part, and then I'll make sure that you will understand this wrapper class, how it works, so that nicely you can use in your project. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching this.